Welcome to the Trashcats Trashcast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven.
Today we're going to talk about art forgery and more we just start over.
In more ass.
And more ass. We're going to talk about art forgery in the ass. Welcome to the Trashcats Trashcast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven.
Today we're going to talk about art forgery and some more Welcome to the Trashcats Trashcast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven.
And today we're going to talk about art forgery in more abstract terms, some famous cases, and teach you how to spot a fake.
Woo! We got it pretty quick that time. That was bad.
Yeah.
So, last week we dropped episode 17, part 1 of our look at art forgery, and today we're going to do part 2.
Ooh.
The next week we'll be getting back on our cycle and doing our philosophy episode on black holes. But first, how was your week, Ricky?
Week's been pretty damn good. I've been ignoring the anxiety that I've had from work and playing lots of Pokemon.
Which Pokemon?
I'm playing Pokemon Fire Red with an emulator on my phone.
Oh, on your phone. That's interesting. I've been playing Pokemon Go a lot.
How is that? I heard
that's my time killer.
I heard it got shitty after the first, a year or whatever. It changed a lot, at least.
It changed. I didn't start playing until 5 years after it came out, and
Fair.
now I play it all the time. I think it's fun. It's a great
that's all that matters.
Board thing to do.
I was watching someone else that I follow on Run Button, of course. They're playing.
We got it in.
Got to get a fucking run button in every episode. Well, that's most of the content I absorb. Anyways, they're playing. I think it's called Hey You Eevee or Let's Go Eevee.
I saw that today.
Yeah, and they're it's like a Pokemon Yellow remake. That's my thing. Is I want to play Pokemon, but I don't give a fuck about anything besides the first 150 Pokemon. I don't. Those are the ones I know. I don't care to learn the new Pokemon. So
I used to think that way, and then I expanded my mind.
I mean, I played Gold and Silver also,
Yeah.
but if I'm playing it for fun, maybe later, maybe after I finish Pokemon Fire Red, I might fuck around and do something else. But
yeah, I don't like most of the new Pokemon, but there's some fun ones. There's more bad ones than the originals, but there's some fun stuff.
how was your week?
My week was not great, but I'm okay. The world is fire, and I am marble, and I'm in Zen mode. Fuck it, I'm good.
All is well when we're in front of the mic.
Yeah, exactly. You got any honorable mentions?
I do not.
Okay, did you get the ones I just sent?
I sure did.
Okay, so I have 3. One of them, there's 2 copies of, but the first piece is The Boar Hunt by Franz Schneiders.
Oh, yeah, that's gorgeous.
Dude, I love these old paintings of dog fights or boar hunts or just the old dog paintings that are just vicious and brutal as fuck.
Yeah, you think of the action that's going on there, and someone had to paint that. They weren't using a picture or something.
Dude,
to reference.
Yeah, that would make it so much harder to capture these quick action moments. It's like 6 dogs tearing apart a boar.
Usually, animals in older paintings like this look like shit. This person knew what they were doing. They look like not animals.
Dude, they do a lot of bad. Yeah, you're so right, though. There's so many, fancy portraits where there's an animal in the background or some shit, and it's, terrible.
Someone told me, it might have been an art history thing, but they were like, you can tell older paintings, you can tell when they use 2 different artists because both the family and the pet look good. Because sometimes it would be the same person that did the people that did the animal, and they, usually they were better at one or the other. So the people look fantastic, but the animal looks like a fucking, demon or some shit.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, definitely can't use that for everything, but that's a great little tip to be able to distinguish.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't apply everywhere, but for sure, it's a
great little tool. I love how you can even see their motion so much, like the collar, like off of their fur, like lifting off of their fur in motion.
Yeah, super well done.
Yeah, that's a old favorite. Thank you, Franz. The second one, I don't know if you listen to the band. So this is an album cover for Sepultura, the album Arise, and the art is by son of a bitch. I just had it up. Michael Whalen.
Why do I know that name?
He's done a bunch of stuff. Like I've even seen him do like new illustrative art for like the Dark Tower, not the Dark Tower, like some fantasy shit, like H.P. Lovecraft shit. Like he does a bunch of stuff. Very successful, awarded artist, but he's done a lot of like metal. Like he did an album cover for Ghost, I believe. No, Ghost cover was modeled off his shit, but it wasn't him. But he's done a bunch of metal stuff too, and this is like one of my favorite classic metal albums. Metal album covers. It's actually a really fucking good album too, but
yeah, it's fucking sick. It's brutal as hell.
Demon castle with claws and eyes, and I love castle shit, and I love how organic and just like creepy it is.
I've never been, I guess, crazy about, like, at least because it doesn't really stick in my mind with like the some of the demonic, imagery kind of stuff, but like the use of like nautical animals like crabs and shit like that, and octopuses and shit like that doesn't usually spring to my mind. Right. And sometimes I see it done and it can feel weird and out of place. This looks really good, the way they did the claws.
Yeah, so spiky. It's just so fluid. Like I love castle-y goth shit, but most of the time I don't like how it's done, and this piece kind of was like an exception for me. It's just so weird.
I dig it.
It's funny, the original's in like this green like color space, and it's like not, it feels like a sci-fi thing, and then for the band they it was like redone tinted red, and it like worked, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So last honorable mention before we get to it, I think this is an appropriate piece. I'm not like big on Banksy, but he definitely affected my interest in art as a kid quite a bit. Yeah. And this is a piece of his. Do you want to describe it a little bit?
It appears to be an auction house of people buying art, and the piece in question is a framed work that just says, "I can't believe you morons actually buy this shit." And you pointed out to me separately, this looks like the frame that was on the piece that was shredded.
So from my understanding, I may be wrong about this, but I believe this piece came right after the shredding frame piece, and it sold at Sotheby's, and it like set an even higher record sale. So it's a piece making fun of art auctions, morons buying these stupid pieces of art, and it sold for a tremendous amount of money still.
It's fucking outstanding. It's so sad. Right. It's like you said, like I'm not crazy about Banksy. He's super way overhyped, and I think he of course they know it. Right. And they make the best of that situation, I guess. But it's so sad that people spend money on this kind of money on art.
Right. Have you seen? There's a lot of articles coming out about Banksy lately about his identity and if they think it might be a famous musician because his pieces that are thrown up match certain artists' tour schedules. And then there's also 2 people that were photographed putting up one of his pieces, and they either are related to his team or could be him. There's also a lot of theories that it is a group of women. There's just a lot of interesting theories going on lately, and it's amazing no one's actually figured it out at this point.
Yeah.
He takes a lot of precautions. Takes a lot of precautions. It's very interesting.
The royal he.
Right. What would be interesting is if they get his identity, if he'll face any charges.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure someone will try it.
Because
someone will go out of their way to make a point to.
Right,
to
it's
do
a ton of
about it.
Vandalism stuff, and I feel like most of that definitely wouldn't get charged. But he's printed fake money and shit. Like,
yeah,
he's done enough things that could be chargeable. It'd be, I don't know. It's fun though.
Yeah. What I've learned, from at least from the research for this week, is that abstract expressionism is overhyped as fuck, and I hate it.
Dude. Yeah. Fucking bullshit, man.
It's the thing that, when you're in art class, you feel, especially when you're young, they teach you like, when people say like, oh, anybody could do that. It's just scribbles on, or drips on, a canvas or whatever. Then they like literally Pollock's just fucking dripping, paint all over the fucking place. And you're supposed to be like, well, yeah, but you didn't do it. And it's like, yeah, why the fuck would I do this? This looks shitty. This
because
looks like it
genius.
didn't. Yeah, he's a fucking genius. There's always, an excuse for it, but it's like this isn't extremely. This doesn't take a lot of talent.
None.
It's because of the name that people are like, oh, this is worth a lot of money.
Right, and some of the artists that become famous, like Pollock and abstract expressionism shit. Like, some of those dudes those people are definitely, like, legitimate artists where they have skills in other forms of art, but they got drawn to this stupid path. But most of the people that do abstract bullshit, it is because when they were younger, they loved art, but didn't have the skill to make real shit.
Right.
So they got into abstract. I really believe that.
I can see that. It might as far as like abstract art goes, like there's some of it that I really, really enjoy. Even like my Aunt Diane makes this, these crazy pieces that, she was painting like a lot of more realism stuff most of her life. And then she wanted to get back into painting some more. So she took an abstract class because that's all that was available. And she didn't think she would really even like it, but she's doing really amazing work. And it's, you can tell that there's concepts, there's ideas behind it when she's doing it. There's feelings that you get from it that aren't, it's not necessarily like, oh, it's up to your perception. It's like there are things that you are meant to feel from this piece, like, direct things. It's not just like, oh, it's super up for interpretation. It's like, that's fucking stupid. Like Rothko shit. It's like, there's no justification, for it being abstract.
I can find some value in Rothko. I think it's absolute bullshit that it could be so expensive and famous. Like, I can see some points of value in it, but because it's so big, it's just nonsense. It's nonsense.
I found out through research that the research we did for this podcast, that one of the only Rothkos that I thought I liked was a forgery. I thought that was interesting.
That's funny.
So we're going to start this off by talking about the recent story about the Rothko forgeries. In researching the art forgery stuff, we learned about a trend to forge newer artists, specifically modern or abstract art. And it's just because the materials are easier to acquire and, since they're not as old. And so they're more difficult to find and fake. It's not as difficult to find and fake it. It's also because many of the newer artists, particularly Rothko and Pollock, they're just easier to fake, with the technique. It doesn't take the same mastery to create a convincing fake. Not all forgers have the same level of talent as our homie Wolfgang. So they got to go with something a little bit easier.
Right. So Netflix just put out a new hit documentary called Made You Look, a true story about fake art. And it takes a deep look into the bullshit of the art world. This story revolves around a series of sketchy characters and a disgraced art house. So what is this? This art house is M. Knoedler & Co. And it was an art dealership in New York City, founded in 1846. It closed in 2011 amid lawsuits for fraud. It was one of the oldest commercial art galleries in the U.S., having been in operation for 165 years. Like, dude, that auction, they saw some shit, man. They survived. Yeah. And now they're fucking gone over this shit. So they made their reputation selling European old master paintings until they got themselves in trouble with some Rothkos.
Right. You fuck around for some money.
Right.
Gonna get busted. They got away with it for such a long time too. Was the crazy part.
For a good while.
So we're gonna start with an article from ArtNet News. This is a good article. They settled into Made You Look, a true story about fake art. An engaging documentary that recounts the scandal of a century. New York's Knoedler & Company gallery had survived a civil war and 2 world wars over more than a century and a half until an unassuming Long Island woman, Glafira Rosales, started showing up with paintings supposedly by Robert Motherwell, Jackson Pollock, and Mark Rothko, with no paperwork and a mysterious and changing backstory, available for way less than what the market rates were. The gallery's director, Anne Friedman, sold 60 works for a total of $80 million. When it emerged that they were painted by a Chinese immigrant, Pei Shin Chen, in his garage in Queens, the gallery shuttered practically overnight. The numerous trials that resulted held the art world in thrall. Homie was a math teacher.
At a college, right?
Yeah. Math professor.
And he's just in Queens working in his garage forging paintings. Like it was a mathematical process.
Right.
So clever.
Yeah.
So this is definitely worth mentioning. So when looking up information about the documentary's production, I found some information. Midway through the Netflix doc, there's a color photo on screen of Pollock in his studio, and it's very stylized. But it turns out it's not a real photo of Pollock. It's an image of a small sculpture of Pollock in his studio, created by another artist, Joe Fig.
It's fucking great.
Dude, they didn't get this artist's permission. He found out about it by watching this documentary with his wife, and he sees a picture of his sculpture in the Netflix documentary about Rothko forgeries.
Yeah. It's fucking obnoxious.
The irony is just so apparent. So Netflix fucked this up, but supposedly it was an honest mistake, and they worked something out with Fig, the artist, and made a charitable donation in his name to amend their mistake. But that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, they tried, I guess, at least. They'd make it up right.
Right. So in this documentary, we're watching Anne Friedman, the disgraced former director of Knoedler, recount her side of the story. And it was hard to watch. It felt really pathetic.
Yes.
And like, it made you want to feel bad for her at times, but it still was like not credible.
Yeah.
I mean,
the overwhelming people around that after she'd say something, they all go like, she's full of shit.
Right. And it's like hard to feel that anger at an old lady, but obviously, there's just no excuses. Friedman declared, "It was credible to me. I believe what I was told. There was a mystery, but there's often mystery in provenance. I hope to solve that mystery as time went on. The day Friedman was to take the stand, the lawsuit was settled for an undisclosed sum. In the trial's aftermath, only one person was prosecuted. Small-time art dealer Glafira how do you say her last name? Rosales, who received 9 months of house arrest and a 3-year probation sentence. In other words, her time was basically suspended. She had already done that much time. So the whole house of cards comes crashing down on her. Yeah, that was interesting. She seemed in on it independently.
Yeah.
Like somehow her and Penn hooked up, and they just wanted to find somebody who was either dumb enough or naive enough to not ask questions.
Right.
And they found Anne Friedman. Right. Director Barry Alvarich raises many questions and made you look, such as why a professional art expert like Anne Friedman accepted the paintings into the gallery's inventory without a credible provenance. The works of art literally walked in off the street with the middleman dealer, someone unknown to the gallery, as well as anyone in the heated-up New York art world. Are alarm bells beginning to ring? Instead of a credible provenance, Rosales. Why do I suck at names so bad? It's so bad.
It's a personality trait.
Dude, it is. Created an elaborate tissue of lies that changed from painting to painting. It is inconceivable that a top international dealer wouldn't have had her suspicions aroused by the horde of undocumented masterpieces. Certainly no self-respecting auction house in the world would touch them with a barge pole. And that was from an article from artlist.com.
Yeah. They something he said in one of the other paragraphs was it was her Friedman's side of it when she said, there's always mystery in provenance. It's like, isn't that the point of having it, is to dispel mystery?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a little
research.
bit of like a gap or something, but the entire point of having that is to know like who the owners were and where it's been and shit like that, to trace it back to the artists themselves.
And anyone else in her position would not have been willing to sell these pieces without finding that information out.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. I mean, I feel like it's easy for us to say it's unacceptable, but people in that world really, they know, like, you just can't do it.
Right. So, M.H. Miller of the New York Times said, either Friedman was complicit in it or she was one of the stupidest people to ever work in an art gallery. One could argue that Friedman was blinded by greed and under pressure to reach targets by her former employer, Michael Hammer, which is actor Armie Hammer's dad. She seemingly turned a blind eye to the obvious, and that was that the paintings were modern forgeries.
That dude, Michael Hammer, like, he definitely was in on it.
Yeah.
From the little bit that they could show about him, he was just like a money guy.
Yeah, he didn't care to ask any questions as long as the money was coming in.
And they couldn't legally tie it to him, but it seemed pretty obvious he was aware of what was happening.
Yeah. So Dr. David Ampham, the renowned Rothko expert and the compiler of the Rothko catalog Raisonné, I think that's right.
Sounds good.
Meant to remember how to pronounce that. French is the worst for me. Testified that it's basically the catalog of like all of Rothko's official work so that they can be double checked on. So he was the one that put that together. He testified that Mrs. Friedman had inaccurately indicated that he had endorsed Knoedler's fake Rothko works sold in 1998 and had falsely stated in a 2007 letter for New York Times. Friedman said Anthem called one painting beautiful, Under oath, Ampham denied ever being in the same room as the forged painting. I've never seen the painting itself, he said, adding that, if asked, he would not have allowed his name to be placed on the list because it would constitute a proxy authentication.
Right.
A similar statement was made by Christopher Rothko, the artist's son, who during his testimony took issue with a statement that Miss Friedman attributed to him in a 2007 letter about a fake Rothko. She wrote that he and his sister were immediately convinced that the work was of the highest quality. Mr. Rothko said the statement had no basis.
Dude, that was ridiculous, because in court, Christopher Rothko was like, he thought it could have been real, and then they tried to use that as evidence that it was real, and it's like, just because you're the dude's son doesn't mean you're an expert in painting authentication.
Yeah.
And he said at the end, he's like, I love the painting. I would have bought it anyway. And they're like, that's proof it was real. He's trying to get it back. And it's like,
no.
His whole point was that it's all fucking bullshit. He's like, I like the painting, regardless of if it was authentically done by my dad or not. I like the painting.
Yeah. So the Knoedler's Gallery's name and the cachet value no doubt played a part in allowing the artworks to be accepted as original. Knoedler sold more than 30 paintings that they claimed were by leading Abex artists. At the end of the day, they were all created in Queens by Pei Shinshan, who later skipped back to China where extradition proved impossible.
Yeah, buddy.
Of course, Anne Freeman has denied all liability for this low point in art commerce and continues to operate as an art dealer. Whether anyone in this small incestuous world will ever buy from her again remains to be seen.
Dude, I love the wording they used in these articles.
Right.
Like, they feel like they have to punch up the writing whenever it's about art shit. It's like, Get the fuck out of here. I've never heard that term Abex artist either, which makes sense.
I feel like I have before. It's just been a very long time. And I feel like you can't say it outside of the context of talking about abstract expressionism because no one's going to know. Even like art people, if you had said that to me outside of context, I would not know what the fuck you were talking about.
Are they doing ab exercises or what?
I mean, I don't know. I don't work at a museum or some shit.
Right. I always thought that'd be a fun job to be one of the people walking around. Don't touch that.
Yeah, I've heard it's not great.
You're just on your feet all day.
I have a good friend that's been working in a museum for at least 6 years, and I think she's getting tired of it. I don't know. It might just be the particular people she works with.
Yeah, I applied at the Cincinnati Museum a couple times, but I guess I don't look museum friendly.
Mm-hmm. Here's our docent Stephen. our resident Dutch Renaissance painter historian Stephen.
You should check out that painting. It looks pretty fucking rad.
This shit's dope as fuck. It might be fake though.
There's a lot of fakes in museums these days. So pretty much the whole theme of this documentary is just like rich people trick each other and they have bad taste in art.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Dude, I got so fed up with it. I couldn't watch the last 15 minutes. And I liked it. Like, I liked the documentary. It's interesting. It's about subject matter I enjoy. But I could not listen to Anne Friedman feel bad for herself anymore. It was just ridiculous. And it felt like she, directed this documentary. Like, she funded it and made it happen. It all felt like, not all of it, but a lot of it felt like she was just fighting for her reputation.
Just placating to her.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't think she realized how bad it came off. It would have been so much better if, I'm sure for her career, which she is trying to revive, that she didn't do this documentary.
Yeah.
It had to have been a mistake. Her reputation, the art houses, they all benefit from these forgeries for years.
Yeah.
The paintings went to prestigious galleries, museums, auctions, and fueled the art world's assembly line of bullshit. They all made a bunch of fucking money, and then they try to blame the poorer people who created them.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the only people that they go after for charges. Like the rich people selling them for millions of dollars, no justice. And even the people that created them, they all escape justice too, essentially, except the one woman,
Rosales.
Yeah, she kind of got fucked over, but she was just a pawn in it all.
Yeah,
and it's like we're spending so much fucking tax money for the courts on this expensive trial, and then at the end it gets dropped and settled, and no one's held accountable.
Right.
The guy who painted them is very talented, and I'm glad he got away with it, but the rest of it is all nonsense.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. At one moment in the trial of the forgery, there was one of the Rothko forgeries was used in evidence. So they put it up in the courtroom, and they put it on an easel, and the whole courtroom's checking it out. And a friendly debate breaks out on if the painting is oriented correctly or if it's upside down on the easel. And they all laughed about this funny moment in the history of abstract art. And they were like art historians were like, this amazing moment in modern art. Like, oh, it was so, it made everybody question, was it upside? It's like, get the fuck out of here. Dude, I wanted to puke and slit my wrist. I did think it was funny because of how dumb I thought they were.
Yeah,
but
the situation itself was not the funny part. The way that they all reacted to it, and then didn't acknowledge that, like, oh, we must all be idiots for thinking that, that this has any meaning anyways.
They can't tell if the painting's done by a person or not. They can't tell if it's upside down or not. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right. Absolutely batshit. All these people suck ass.
Yeah. So, do you believe Anne Friedman to be naive or complicit?
Complicit.
Complicit?
Yeah.
I think...
Or both.
That's probably the smart answer. I think willingly naive.
Yeah, that's the better one, yeah.
I think she
probably knew enough, but didn't want to push it too much because, them dollar signs.
She knew that she shouldn't have been selling them, and she definitely lied about the experts authenticating them, like the list. Like, she took steps to get away with it, but I also think she wanted so badly to believe that they're real that she accepted them. Yeah, as if they were. But
I'm related to people that do it. They, lie so much that they start to believe their own shit.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. What about
Glafira Rosales?
Yeah.
I think she's definitely guilty, but of the crimes that were committed, she did the lowest crime, or one of the lowest crimes. She shouldn't have been able to get the paintings into market anyways.
Right. The art world would argue that she committed the biggest crime.
Yeah, they can all go fuck themselves.
Right. Like, she was the fall woman. And what's interesting is, like you said, she never flipped on anybody. We have no idea what her story is still.
Right.
They found
we know her
off.
Boyfriend's a dick. Her ex-boyfriend was a dick.
I had a mixed feeling. It seemed like he did love her.
I couldn't tell how it appeared to me.
You think so? I honestly don't fully remember, but it kind of seemed like she might have been a little off, and he was, because the things he was accused of were by her, and then she was gone. So I don't know. Who the fuck knows?
I thought he was accused of other shit before he was even in America. That's like one of the reasons they were in America is because he was accused of selling a bunch of fake shit over there. He was in trouble.
Dude, you're right. And he probably put her up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I remember. They found her foreign bank accounts, and she had like millions of dollars, I believe, and they were able to confiscate that. So she definitely wasn't the mastermind. That's
Right.
for sure.
And then you got Pei Shen Chan,
Yeah.
fucking straight gangster.
Friend of the Trashcats.
Yeah.
He made it out unscathed. As soon as he felt the heat coming, he bugged out and went back home and never got caught. He's not going to get charged there.
I was gonna say unscathed. He can't come back to America, but you know.
But supposedly he,
why would you?
yeah, and supposedly he has a successful career from the notoriety of being that good.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find any of his work. Maybe another day we'll find something. But it sounds like he's all good. He made his money and got the fuck out of there. Fooled a bunch of idiots.
Good for him.
Right?
So now we're going to talk about how to spot a fake. Yeah. So now that we've looked at some good forgeries, we compiled a little bit of information about it. So of course, not many of us are collecting art these days. This shit's too goddamn expensive. And if you do have that kind of money, you can likely afford. You should have a professional appraisal done. In cases of real financial value, lab analysis or research should be done as well. But if you're just a regular trash cat like the rest of us, and you're trying to determine if that rad piece of art at the Goodwill might be real or not, here's some good tips to start with.
Yeah. Real quick, I was going to... I don't know a lot of people buying art.
No.
I wouldn't buy my own art.
I buy art from people that I know. Luckily, right? I know people that make things. I buy art from you. I buy art from my Aunt Diane.
Mm-hmm. That's just as much out of love as interest, though.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that I like other pieces of work, and I might buy them. I might look at those and think, oh, those are really cool, and consider it. But because they're friends and family and stuff, I want to support that. So it's worth it to buy from them.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty obsessed with art. I don't know if I've ever bought a professional art print. Ever. I spend so much time looking at art, but I don't know. As long as I get the feeling from looking at something, and most of the time that's online, I don't end up buying things.
Yeah.
I feel bad about that sometimes, but it is what it is.
Priorities with your own money. That's got nothing to do with anybody else. It doesn't say anything about the abilities of the artists that you like. It's not a priority for you to spend money on it. Yeah.
I always thought of money as fun tickets. Yeah. And then sober, the tickets are a lot less fun.
But I was gonna say the other thing about buying art is, boy, I had a good point and I just forgot it. It just slipped my brain.
All right,
oh well, we'll get back to it.
So, good tip to start with: examine the art as closely as possible. If you have access, use a lens such as a jeweler's loupe and look for signs of digital printing. This is important because, my sister, for example, bought some posters the last month or two of different musicians. Their posters were being sold online, and some of them will be authentic posters from the musician's company or whatever, the label, and then a lot of other ones on eBay will be ripped, stolen prints, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you can tell by looking closely enough especially on a bad, but on most digital prints there's a dot matrix pattern on close viewing, and on a painting it can often feel authentic because they often still varnish the digital print by hand, so you get that texture and different glares. But if you look closely enough, oftentimes you can see telltale signs of digital printing still with the dots and shit.
I've been fooled by that myself.
It's pretty crazy how well, and I feel like both of us have the point of view: as long as you fucking like it, who the fuck cares?
Right.
But if you're really trying to get an authentic painting or print by somebody, it's a good way to look. 2, examine the layers and layering depth. It's definitely difficult to fake the layers of most paintings.
Yeah.
So if you can tell there's no depth in the paint layers, that's a good sign. 3, examine canvas transparency. Even a pretty opaquely painted canvas, there's often still some light that passes through it.
Yeah.
If it's a digital reproduction or something, it'll just block out light completely. And then 4, look up the artist's signature. This includes placement, color, and style. A lot of times you can find that by looking at their past work, and you can get an idea of if the signature looks legit or not.
Yeah.
For like, if you're going for an old painting, the 5th thing is the smell test. Like we were talking about with Wolfgang, check for signs of age, and you can often tell this by the smell of the wood, the canvas, the stretchers, whatever. It shouldn't smell new or fumey or like fresh paint.
Right.
Right. 6, last one. If you're still not sure and you really want to know if it's an authentic original, you basically just have to pay. So the only way to know for sure is to have provenance researched by professionals or get authenticated by lab analysis. But fuck that. If you like art, just get it, right?
Yeah, get that fucking printed ass piece of shit that's stretched over a canvas from the Big Lots. Nobody gives a shit. If you think it looks cool and it's going to look nice on your wall next to, that one plant you got, like, fucking do it. It's whatever.
Right. Like, I know, like, maybe one of the 8 prints my sister got are legit, but her room looks fucking dope right now.
I remembered the point I was going to make earlier. When you make art all day, I can see it not being as enticing to purchase or indulge on other art in that way, in the same way where I cook food all fucking day, and one of the last things that I want to do is go out and eat somewhere else or something like that. It's like, I know I can make this the way that I want to, like if I want a steak or something, I'd rather make it myself. I haven't gone out for a steak in years because I just don't want someone else to fuck it up and then I feel bad and I eat it. Or it's like I have a high expectation of it. And if I make it and it sucks a little bit, or it's not the way I want it to be, then it's on me. And as I can say, like, well, I'm just a hard critic on myself. It's always going to be a little bit less than. But I'd rather just do it myself.
You are 100% right. Because that's what my whole art style is. I steal shit and I make it into what I want it to be. Like, it's kind of, collage, graphic design-y shit that I do in a way, but I build into something else. So, like, Fran Schneider's fucking The Boar Hunt, it's beautiful. I love it, but it's not what I would want to look at. Like, I will use it to turn it into something I want, and then I will print it myself if I want it. Like, and my process involves looking at so much fucking art every day. I can't imagine like putting in an order and waiting to get that piece to look at it. Like I'm gonna look at it and then make it to be the art I want in the world. I don't know.
Yeah. So we're gonna get
switch gears.
Yeah, some more abstract about what art forgery is.
This is fun.
This other documentary where we watched, Steven's seen it before. I just watched it the other day. It's called Sour Grapes. It's about the first ever convicted wine forger.
Dude,
it's so fucking cool. So this guy, go ahead, tell me what you think.
I was just gonna say, I feel bad. We do so much documentary stuff, but I'm obsessed with documentaries.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
One.
I think our reviews of shit are fine.
I think this one was by Magnolia Pictures, which if anyone out there just watch, if you see Magnolia Pictures at the start of a documentary, it's fucking fire. They do the best shit, dude.
Or if you watch a horror movie and you see Magnet at the beginning, that's gonna be fucked up.
They did Saw?
Did they do Saw?
I I forget now.
I know they've done
I'm not sure.
some of the more fucked up ones I've seen they've done. Anyway.
Remember, what was it? I know we both watched it. What was it? A Serbian film?
Oh, a Serbian film. Oh my God. That's still the most fucked up movie I've ever watched.
Did we watch that together? Is that why I'm remembering that?
Maybe. I watched it for the first time in Florida.
Okay.
Someone told me about it, and this is, if you don't, it's real fucked up. I usually tell people like, maybe don't look it up. It's real fucked.
It's not for everybody.
No, it's super not. Sure. The soundtrack, I don't think fucking awesome. It.
Yeah,
I've watched it a few times since. I like the movie. I think it's well done and it's a good story, but it's fucked.
It's not a fun watch.
It's super not a fun watch.
It's great. It's like
it will ruin any high.
Yeah. Have you seen Julian Donkey Boy?
Ooh, I feel like I have.
Dude.
I think you might have told me to.
Maybe. At the time I watched it, which was like a decade ago, it was one of my all-time favorite movies, but I have not watched it again. And I always intend to, and then feel like I emotionally can't handle it, because it's a movie. The main character is the donkey boy, and it's like, I think it's point of view, but it's definitely from his perspective, and he's definitely mentally retarded. And it's like, it's outstanding. It's beautiful, but it's so fucking sad and hard to watch.
Yeah, you definitely recommended this one to me. I have not seen it yet.
Yeah.
That was years ago. So that was the end of our bit within a bit. That was our quick movie review of some fucked up movies. Sour grapes, huh? So this story centers around a man named Rudy Kurniawan. He was a rich Indonesian wine collector. He spent millions of dollars on wine, sold countless bottles of fake wine. An auction company he worked with broke records by selling $35 million worth of his fake-ass wine in 2006. That's equivalent to about $44 million by today's standards. Which, by the way, 2006 wasn't that fucking long ago. Inflation, insane on that.
Do you think that's accurate?
For what I've looked up, yes, it is.
It went from 35 to 40. All right, that makes sense. That is fucking crazy, though.
Yeah.
That's not long.
Yeah. So in 2008, the firm held a sale at a Manhattan restaurant, promising the wines would be authenticated by some of Burgundy's most discerning connoisseurs. Included were alleged bottles of wine from the years 1945, 1949, and 1966. But the estate proprietor revealed that the particular wine had not been produced until 1982. He would wine and dine people of influence in the field and wealthy potential buyers. Quoted that one of the quotes in the movies was, "Anything that depends on what people want to believe is a complex area," which is super true. Rich men will always believe anything you tell them if they think it'll make them look more affluent and powerful. And to prove that point, the market's already emerged for Rudy's wines, both his untampered ones in his collection and the fakes that still exist. In 2012, the FBI raided Rudy's home in Arcadia, Los Angeles, and discovered his wine fraud, whereby he collected empty bottles, refilled them with cheaper wine, and then forged the labels.
And real quick, we'll get into his process, because that sounds like very easy, but dude was an artist.
Yeah.
In many ways. And it's so funny. You remember when they would, like, after he's been caught, they would have people that he tricked drink 2 glasses of wine to tell if it was the fake or original. And he was tricking some of the best wine testers in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insane.
It's fucking out. It's outrageous, the shit that he did. And still to all the digital work that he did for the labels, he had a couple fuck ups, which, is what part of the thing that led to him getting caught. But it wasn't the actual nail in the coffin. People were still buying the shit. In 2014, he became the first person in the United States to be convicted of the crime and was given 10 years.
Dude, I mean, when they go through his house, like, this dude was known in the wine world for being one of the best testers and had the best taste, which is everything in that circle of wine, somms, and aficionados, whatever. He knew his shit, and people trusted and valued his taste.
Yeah.
And
wild how good he was at it for being so young, number one.
Right.
But in general, they said that he would just nail shit every time. He knew exactly what the fuck it was, which that's some Sixth Sense shit. Like, there are, really talented people out there with really excellent taste buds, but to have the olfactory response of and cataloging it like that is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, he was like the perfect con man because he came off as this like chill wine bro, and he just played everyone. So when the feds go through his house, they find bottles soaking in sinks so he could peel the labels off. He had formulas written on all the bottles of which other like cheap wines he could mix to get the flavor of a fancy, $50,000 wine just right. And he would test them on people and like alter his formulas till he had it down to this science. And then he's crafting the labels and packaging to make vast quantities of these fake wines. I remember them saying that he did have ties, like foreign ties to what they believe were criminal enterprises of sorts, and they believe the amount he got busted making or that he had put into the market illegally would have been too much for him to make himself, but he definitely was the mastermind of it all.
Yeah.
He even had sketchbooks of the label designs and shit. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm over here subsisting on $3 Chuck and some box ass wine. It tastes good, and I don't get it. I ain't paying more than $5 for a bottle of wine. Go fuck yourself.
I've never drank wine for the fucking taste.
No. I mean, I have, and I found some that I like, and that's all that matters. I'm not spending. I mean, maybe like $15 might be the max. If I know that it's really good or something like that, I'm not spending more than $15 on wine, though. Fuck that.
It's just fruit beer.
Yeah. It's the same with like, I have a cheap taste for a cheap preferences in bourbon. I've quite expensive. I guess not really expensive by Scotch standards. I was gonna say I have expensive taste in Scotch, but I like stuff that's like $90 a bottle rather than some of them that go for like multiple hundreds of dollars. So
right now,
by my standards,
what would be? I'm curious if you'll guess the same one. What would be the official drink of the Trashcats?
Ooh. My first instinct says Four Loko.
Oh my god, dude.
Is that it?
No, I was going to go with Pabst, but I really like the idea of Four Loko as a drink.
The original Four Loko, not after they changed the formula.
Right. The caffeine in it.
Oh, even better. Juice, the JOOSE.
I've never had that one.
It's the same thing as Four Loko. I'm pretty sure it's older than Four Loko, though.
Yeah.
We used to get fucked up on them back in grade school.
What was the thing my brother and me did? There wasn't it like monkey mud? There was some like they emptied half a bottle of wine and like put Four Loko. It was something like ridiculous.
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. I missed that episode. I don't know.
I'll have to find it. They had their like own juice that was really fucking funny. It was like one bottle. It fucked them up every time. Shit. Where were we?
So of course, so he gets raided and all this shit, and so they couldn't trace, or they didn't actually follow the paper trail back to Indonesia. So there are signs that he wasn't acting alone, of course. So one of the winemakers who was investigating Rudy believes it would have been impossible for one man to produce so many counterfeit bottles. And the way that he put that together was saying, like, to do all this processing, it would have taken an hour per bottle. And he's like, there's 15,000 bottles or whatever, or 1,500 bottles. Like that's insane for one man to do all that. It was also that wine fraud is a much bigger problem than it's been acknowledged. In a recent interview, he said that he suspected that 80% of the Burgundy allegedly from before 1980 is all counterfeit. 80% of all Burgundy dated before 1980 is counterfeit. Part of the problem is people get embarrassed by how they were duped, so they don't want to come forward about it, which is, I mean, it's understandable.
Yeah.
But, you should be embarrassed by how much you spent on that.
Right.
Rudy was released in November 2020. He's been living in the United States illegally, though, since 2003, so he will be deported to Indonesia upon his release.
So we may have messed that up. He might still be in prison then.
I might have worded that wrong. That was my own fault. Yeah, but I'm not sure that he's been immediately
formally
deported.
Right. But dude, it reminds me of Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can.
Oh yeah,
where he's soaking things in the sink to peel them and change the stickers and shit. Dude, like 80% of Burgundy, like. That is how honey, maple syrup, and what's the other one? The wasabi. Those are all, like, the whole market is just counterfeit. You can look up a New York Times article, like, half of honey and maple syrup is forgeries.
Yeah.
It's just mixing other shit, cutting shit. It's all a fucking scam. You're not getting what you pay for. I know wasabi's are like huge for that. It's just horseradish, right?
Yeah. So most of the shit you're getting over here is powdered down horseradish. Here's a pro tip for honey. If you want that good shit, and you should get that good shit if you're going to get honey at all anyways, look up your local apiaries and go support them. Buy directly from them, because there's no reason not to. Number one, there's one in every city. Just go find the people with the bees and buy the good honey. And then actually that honey is good for you because it's got all the different, pollens and shit. It's almost like a vaccine for your, allergy symptoms. You consume that and you put it in your system. At least so I'm told. I'm not a doctor. Steven can confirm. Dr. Steven?
I believe so. The doctor approves.
He believes the words, so he's approving it.
Dude, you know what was the fucking best, though, as a kid? Was honeysuckle.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That was the funnest shit ever. You're, like, picking through flowers forever to get, like, one tiny drop of nectar. It was the best.
They grew so wild in Cincinnati, too.
Yeah.
Do you remember the big old bush in the backyard of our house?
What about monkey brains?
Oh, God, monkey brains.
Those were the best. Monkey brain wars?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, God, that was so fun.
We had 1 year at school where they were doing a bunch of tree trimming. So we had a big line of stacked like 3 feet high of all these, tree shit along this wall where it was already an incline that you'd go up, like back where we used to hang in the playground where there's the table in the back corner.
Yeah.
So like where there is that incline, all that fucking tree shit was at the top of it. So we had people at the top and people down below throwing them motherfuckers back and forth at each other. It was good shit.
Dude, I have this memory of my little brother, John, who does our music. We were in a parking lot at the church and we're tossing monkey brains around. And he was like young, like in like 3rd, 4th, whatever grade or whatever. And he's trying to throw me a monkey brain like really far, and he does a full speed wind up, and at the time, he's so uncoordinated. He goes to throw it like high like a football and instead just throws it full speed into a car like 2 feet away from him. Just straight into the window. And it somehow didn't break, but it was just pow. Sure, us like running away laughing. Oh, man.
That's fucking bonkers shit.
Yeah. So fucking Rudy tricked the whole wine world for years. And it was because he was talented. It was both a con, a craft, and definitely an art.
Yeah.
One of my favorite aspects of this documentary is that he tricked Bill Koch.
Yeah.
And we both felt strongly enough about this man that we'd like to spend a little time talking about why Bill Koch, siblings of the famous Koch brothers, are assholes.
Fuck you, Bill.
Yeah, fuck them. But one of them's dead, which was great.
Yeah,
so,
fuck all of them.
I think it's just Bill left. So he spent over $35 million to investigate Rudy. And he got ripped off for $400,000 of wine.
Yeah.
And he spent $35 million in investigating.
The priorities of the rich and famous.
What like he just was so fucking angry. He got burnt. Do you mind reading this quote for me?
I sure can. So this was a quote from Bill. This is a bottle of Rothschild 1870, and we had a materials expert analyze this, and he said, the glue behind here is Elmer's glue, and that wasn't made until 1870. Or that wasn't made in 1870.
Dude, I love when the forgers use cheap supplies to rip off these people.
Yeah.
That's so satisfying. Like, yeah, you caught the mistake. You used Elmer's glue. It's like, yeah, because that's what they had that was cheap. Like, fuck you.
Yeah. It's absolutely obnoxious, the dumb shit that this man spent money on. Bill traced more than half of his 400 fake bottles to this man.
Rudy.
To Rudy, a wine dealer in Los Angeles named Rudy. To be fair, Bill, is it Cook or Cock? I think it's Cock. Because he's a cock. It's Cook.
He's definitely, he's definitely a cock, but his name's Cook.
So their private investigation, they did lead to his downfall, but fuck the Koch brothers. Fuck all of them. Fuck the Koch brothers. We're glad Rudy stole as much money from that asshole as possible. If you spend $50,000 on a bottle of Thomas Jefferson's wine, you're a stupid piece of shit.
Dude, he bought all this like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson original wines. Like, get the fuck out of here.
You fucking asshole, you racist piece of shit.
Yeah. And if you don't know the Koch brothers, there's a lot of reasons you should. They're well known for the oil business and it's their environmental impacts. The Kochs made a majority of their vast wealth in the oil industry, and as a result were required in 2000 by the U.S. government to pay the largest fine ever imposed on a company at the time, $30 million, for more than 300 oil spills their refineries had been responsible for.
Fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah, those oil spills are... it takes a lot more than $1 million to undo an oil spill.
Yeah.
Like, the feds never issue those kind of fines to a company. Like, some of the biggest corporate environmental harm, like, they might get fined $10,000 for, like, polluting the whole fucking world. To get a $30 million fine, they had to do so much heinous shit.
Yeah.
What's the company that makes the non-stick frying pans?
Teflon?
Yeah, Teflon. That the family that owns them. Which is crazy because he was tied to that documentary Foxcatcher about the wrestlers. Anyway, the family that makes the Teflon shit, right? We found out that stuff is horrible for you to breathe.
Oh, know? Yeah.
Like the original old school nonstick pans. So they have found in every human on the earth we have chemicals in our blood from Teflon pans.
Yeah.
And it will be in the human's bloodstream for the next 400 years. They got fined under $1 million until there was so much outrage. The fines later became bigger. I'm still pretty sure it's under 30 million. They polluted the blood of every human on Earth. So, I mean, the Coke
need to be more outraged about that, number one.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's fucking obnoxious.
You want to get into that article?
Yeah, so this is from a Rolling Stones article titled Inside the Koch Brothers' Toxic Empire. Brothers Charles and David are each worth more than $40 billion.
Jesus fuck.
The electoral influence of the Koch brothers is similarly well chronicled. The Kochs are homegrown oligarchs. They've cornered the market on Republican politics and are nakedly attempting to buy Congress and the White House. Their political network helped finance the Tea Party and Powers Today's GOP. Koch-affiliated organization raised more than $400 million during the 2012 election. They aim to spend another $290 million to elect Republicans in this year's midterms. So far in the cycle, Koch-backed entities have bought 44,000 political ads to boost Republican efforts to take back the Senate.
They would go state to state and try to finance any Republican candidate for any position in any small town. Like, they have altered our politics so much, it cannot be understated.
It's fucking obnoxious. The Koch brothers spent more than $34 million on supporting efforts to sabotage and weaken union organization and fighting against public sector pay raises for state and union workers. It's also linked to legislative efforts supporting anti-immigration law, enormous mass media smear campaigns against healthcare reform, and research reports supporting the continuation of foreclosures on working people's homes.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of other reasons, too. I believe they're Christians, and they've pushed a bunch of Christian value bullshit.
Of course they have.
Of course.
They're good Christian people.
Yeah, did you catch, it just went on YouTube yesterday, this channel that is working to undo the work of Prager University. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Super not.
But Prager University hosts people to speak, including David Duke, the previous head of the KKK. Like, they'll host all these extreme alt-right bullshit. Like, Ben Shapiro's on there, who's a piece of shit too. David Duke, but they'll host these talks. So there's a group posting things to oppose them. And, you know the comedian David Cross?
Yeah.
He just did this 10-minute video of, and it's called like Why America Sucks, and it's very funny. It's definitely worth it.
Definitely look that up.
Yeah, but the point is, fuck the Koch brothers, free Rudy, and
Free
props to him. Props to him for fucking them over.
Yeah.
That was fun. I don't know why we went there, but I enjoyed it.
It's a cool, if we're talking about forgery, it's worth, mentioning. There's so many people that give a fuck so hard about wine that, don't need to.
Yeah, and I love the whole con heist of it all,
Yeah.
So what about these wines?
So, I have here a list of celebrity wines. I did ask you to not look them up because I want you to see if you can even come close to a guess about...
I thought for sure one of them was going to be by Snoop Dogg. But
I didn't do that one.
I don't think you did. Okay.
So the first one is called Pursued by a Bear. And you can guess anybody. I won't make you, hang over it.
That's a great name. I'll go with Bert Kreischer. I know
Wrong.
it's not him, but...
It's Kyle MacLachlan from Twin Peaks fame.
Who was he in Twin Peaks?
He's Agent Cooper.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was him by name. Yeah. Oh, man, dude. Have you watched the new season?
I have not. I'm still working on the second season. I thought I had finished it, but apparently I didn't. So I started watching it with my mom, and then we got sidetracked on some other shit.
So much fun.
Second one. This is actually a really popular one. I've had it before, and I worked at a restaurant that sold it. Dreaming Tree.
That's not a great name, but I don't know who does that one.
That is David Matthew.
Oh my god.
Fucking Dave Matthew.
What an idiot. Yeah. He would have a wine called Dreaming Tree.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Now the second one, this one has a hint in the title. Carneros Chardonnay.
Carneros
Chardonnay.
George Carlin.
No. It is NASCAR racer Jeff Gordon.
What? Where was the hint?
From a car. There's a car in the name.
God damn it. Dude, I've been watching that Drive to Survive, the Formula One series.
Oh, I
Netflix.
bet that's dope.
It's actually really good. I'm not into car shit at all, but it's a fun one.
Them boys be going fast as fuck. And they're low as hell to the ground.
Just fucking rockets, bro. It is insane. I don't get it. It's so much fun.
The second one also has a clue in the name. Ferguson Crest.
Fergie.
That's exactly right.
Are you serious?
You got one right.
Oh my god.
Woo! Now, I think I've told you about this last one before, and it shouldn't be too hard to get this one.
I don't remember it.
Little Jonathan Winery.
I really don't remember it. I know the name. It's not John 5. It's I have no idea, man.
It's our boy Lil Jon.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you tell me you had tried that or not?
No, I just heard about it. I thought it was interesting.
Oh, man. I'd be very curious. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had wine in a while. It sounds refreshing.
It's definitely a nice every now and then snack.
Yeah, I was either like pure vodka or wine. Those were like the two I would fuck with.
It's fair. Ain't nothing wrong with either one of those.
Yeah. All right. I lost my place. We're gonna switch it up again with the wonderful world of counterfeit art. This time we're gonna go with counterfeit money.
Yeah.
Printing cash. So if you're not familiar, and I wish I felt confident saying her name.
Mariana Zeller?
Mariana. Okay. Mariana Zeller.
Like Mariana's Trench.
I know. I just wanted to say marinara. So, but Mariana Zeller, her work, it's very worth checking out. She is a journalist that reports on wild shit such as gun running, cocaine production, and illegal trafficking of tiger wine. Are you familiar with tiger wine?
No, you need to tell me about tiger wine.
Dude, it's big in Asia. They raise tigers just to kill them, and then they put their entire skeleton in a tank and make wine in the tank. So there's tanks of wine vats with tiger skeletons in it, and it like has all this mythos attached to it, making you stronger, whatever. It's Jesus. like a World War II, people ate fucking livers and shit. Like this shit makes you fucking beast mode. So this rare tiger wine bottles are hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Jesus.
And it's huge right now still. So she does a show called Trafficked. That's new on National Geographic, but she's got a long history in this type of journalism. I think she's done like war correspondent shit, but she like with the cocaine, she'll do like a cocaine or fentanyl episode, and she goes through every fucking step of the process where like the gangsters have to take her in and be willing to trust her to not get them fucked. And she has such an outstanding reputation for protecting her sources that people trust her. So in one of the newest episodes, she goes deep into the Peruvian underworld to meet the gangster craftsmen who make and sell the world's finest counterfeit US dollars. And this shit is definitely fucking art, man. It is outstanding. There's an insane... I mean, there's so much counterfeit money circulating in the U.S. They give the pens and shit to check it. None of that does shit. Like,
right.
it doesn't fucking work. The people
I've had a bill pass through the store that didn't pass it passed the pen test.
Right.
They caught it at the bank with a UV light.
Yeah. With current technology, the art of counterfeiting is becoming more difficult to distinguish or trace. In the traffic show, Zeller travels to South America, to Peru. She gets to see how this underground network operates, and it's wild, man. She meets the gangster craftsmen who make and sell the world's finest counterfeit dollars. She learns that many of these counterfeiting operations are not run by the hardcore criminal families. It's often like poor people doing it as their side job. And criminal enterprises set these people up to do it. And it's how people make a living. It's fucking nuts. But they're making a fortune counterfeiting these monies. Not the people on the low end, but the people higher up. The U.S. obviously is doing all kinds of shit to try to stop it from happening, but they cannot stop them. It's just too prevalent. Like, our money is worthless. Yeah. It's all just a broken value system. So these people figure out ways to cheat the fucking system.
Yeah, why not?
Right. And they're making the world's best counterfeit money. There's 3 main steps. The printing. These people are... they pay to get these graphic designers to make these plates for the printing process. And it's like one printer can print out thousands of dollars in an hour. The whole process takes like, I think it was like 6 to 9 months from the initial print to being a bill that could pass, because there's so many steps involved and so many people involved that do each steps. Because so you have the printing, and they're printing in like a graphic design or a photo printing shop. They'll get there early that day and just print before everybody else comes to the market that day. Like, it's so in the open that it blends in. It's just regular people, or they do it in their house. They'll pay to get their walls like poorly soundproofed with construction materials, and they'll just fucking run a printer all day and all night.
Yeah.
And you have these other criminals who specialize in fixing the printers, because they're old printers. You need the right parts. You got to get the plates made by the designers. And then you get all this fucking money printed out on your special paper. They mix all their own inks and shit. And then the printed money, and it's on white paper initially. It has to be dyed. And then it goes to the finishers who, you know, you look at a bill, it has a shine, it has a texture.
Yeah.
Like the Elmer's glue on the wine bottles.
Yeah.
A lot of the finishers use supplies you could get at the corner store, where they're getting like wheat paste glues and like watering it down and then painting the bills with popsicle sticks, like glue on the popsicle sticks. So it gives it, it's like the varnish on the forgeries. Like, they're hand crafting it on the right spots of the bills. You put a little bit more to give it the grit. It's fucking incredible. It's because they don't, a lot of times they don't have the tools to do it right. So they have to artistically create something that could pass. And then the big final step is transporting or muling it across the borders. And that's by far the riskiest part with any of these things. Drugs, guns, money. Yeah.
Get busted with all that money.
Yeah, I don't get how people mule on their body with today's airport security.
Yeah.
It seems like, I know in the past how you could trick a lot of the things, but now that like the 3D body scans, I don't know how the fuck you.
Right.
They must not be as accurate as they pretend they are.
Getting across the border and even like stuffing it inside of like all the compartments of cars and stuff. Have you ever seen that when they're like, checking the board? Oh my God, there's so much shit that people do.
I've seen a couple real life setups that were pretty wild. They couldn't move real weight, but they had to do like the right button series to pop a compartment. I think we might have talked about it last episode, but there's been a couple cases in the last so many years where people are coming out with button combinations to trigger a shotgun or a gun of some sort that is in the hood of their car. So if they get pulled over and the cop walks around, like if they're going to get let off on a ticket, no problem. But if the cop's like, hey, you need to get out of your vehicle, and they're walking around, or it's going to go bad, you pop air conditioning and whatever, and pow. It's killed a couple. It's worked a couple times. It's wild.
That's crazy shit.
Yeah, and speaking of murder, you want to get us into murder among the Mormons.
Oh, fuck. Let's talk about the Mormons for a minute. So Murder Among the Mormons is an American true crime documentary television miniseries following Mark Hoffman, one of the most notable forgers in history. He created forgeries related to the Latter-day Saint movement. This dude, Mark Hoffman, is wild as fuck. He's also a serial killer who likes bombs. Technically, he might not meet the definition of a serial killer, as his third attempted murder was a failed suicide.
Wow.
So, the Mormons Church of Latter-day Saints, they're a fucking stupid church that only dates back a couple hundred years and was all founded by a maniac fraudster, Joseph Smith.
Dude, this was our chance to tie some things together and also hate on this fucking stupid church.
Yeah.
Talk about why they're crazy. I love how it all came together.
It's an explosion of shit.
Fuck Mark Hoffman.
Explosive
Fuck
diarrhea
Joseph
of a
Smith.
podcast.
Right.
And we're proud of it.
Hell yeah.
So, side note, Joseph Smith was also a known counterfeiter of sorts. He was charged with treason against the U.S., among other numerous charges, including charges of illegal banking and banking fraud. He spent a lot of his life on the run after plotting numerous assassinations. He was facing an indictment on the charge of conspiring to assassinate the former governor of Missouri. At one point, he'd even broken out of jail after the sheriffs had allegedly drank too much whiskey. And after a disagreement with a printing publication, Smith declared martial law and incited a riot which led to its destruction. This set into motion a chain of events which led to his death. While in jail awaiting trial, Smith was killed by a mob.
So how was your religion created?
Oh my
Imagine.
God.
That's their fucking Jesus. This is like 250 years ago.
It's absolutely obnoxious.
Insane. Their religion's basically the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. It's basically just a mix between Scientology and Catholicism or Christian churches.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the Book of Mormons, it is definitely the only musical worth watching. Have you watched that by any chance?
I haven't. I have seen the Mormons episode of South Park, which is where that started.
I did not think I'd like it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not huge on South Park, but those dudes are... I fucking love those dudes more than I like South Park. But it was an outstanding musical, and I fucking hate musicals.
Yeah.
Because of the because the religion roots of their church are so recent, that was a bad sentence, a whole economy of Mormon black market document trading began to thrive. And some of these documents discredited the church. So all these documents start coming up, and the church is trying to buy them right away because some of them contradict the church's origin stories.
Right.
It was later revealed that the seemingly new age yet fundamentalist Mark Hoffman, a member of the church, was actually forging many of these documents that discredited his own bullshit religion. He just wanted to sow chaos and make some cash. One of the major documents that Mark released was called the Salamander Letters. And it was a huge deal. When these letters came out, everyone's talking. The Salamander is in all the fucking news and shit. The letters alleged that the church's origins were tied to a white salamander rather than an angel.
That's fucking great.
Which is funny, but it was also so important because, so he forged these letters, but by time, there are legit documents from Joseph Smith that kind of that kind of show that Joseph Smith was writing drafts of what the religion's origin would be.
Yeah.
So Hoffman forged the salamander letters to make it seem like the origins were closer to witchcraft. because that salamander shit was big with witchcraft shit. So he was writing all these things to discredit the religion.
It's fucking great.
Yeah, and he was making like millions of dollars buying and trading legit and his forged documents.
Right.
So eventually he starts, people start to get wise to him, like decades into his career as this world-class forger, and his schemes begin to unravel, and to try to escape justice, he starts constructing bombs. And he murders, I think it's actually 2 people in Salt Lake City, Utah, where they're at. And he fucking car bombs these fuckers. Yeah. That there were people involved in the process that would have been able to prove he may have forged them, which he did. And then on the following day, a 3rd bomb exploded in his car. And by doing this, it made him a suspect in the previous murders.
Right.
Because they knew, now the cops knew he was tied to it. But it turns out he bombed himself as a suicide attempt. And the bomb was a dud.
Oh, wow.
There's a theory he purposely made it a dud to just injure himself, to make it look like he was a target. And that way he couldn't have been responsible.
Right.
But they think it was really meant to kill himself. And he failed. And we didn't bring up Mark Hoffman and the Murdering Mormons just because they are fucking insane church, but also because Mark legitimately was one of the world's most notorious forgers. And the things that he was able to achieve with his work are worthy to be called art.
Absolutely. The wild shit that you had told me about this guy made it a necessary component to this podcast.
Dude, he's driving around like in Mormon clothing, like the white shirts and shit, but he's got like black sunglasses on. He's in like fucking souped up cars in the 80s, and he's like shooting guns out his car window, like Tech 9s and shit out his window. Like this Mormon like fucking weirdo art forger dealer. It's crazy.
So Mark was a clever and intelligent child who was drawn to deception. He was proficient with chemistry, electronics, and collecting at a very young age. According to Hoffman, while still a teenage coin collector, he forged a rare mint mark on a dime and was told by an organization of coin collectors that it was genuine.
I think it was actually the U.S. Mint.
Oh, I believe that.
And he was like so proud of it. He's like, if they said it's real, it is real.
Yeah. Despite severely disavowing his religion at the age of 14 and becoming an atheist, he stayed involved with the church and found a way he could use his craft to make money. Which is fucking so smart and opportune at the age of 14 to think like that.
Yeah, like I think a couple of his closest confidants he picked up that he was a non-believer and converted to atheism, but he just stuck with the church, and they all thought it was like a teenage phase and just didn't even question it anymore.
Yeah.
And for years, he starts a family in the church and everything, and he doesn't give a fuck about any of it. He just knows these people, to protect their faith, will buy dumb shit.
Yeah. So he became an expert in Mormon documents, and he taught himself how to find just the right materials and supplies to fool the church and the historical document experts. At one point, the FBI even had authenticated his documents. He would just find just the right age-appropriate paper and then transfer the desired writing by hand. Some of his works beat mass spectronomy. Is that the right way to say that?
Spectrometry. I think so. I couldn't say it last time.
Spectrometry. There's an R at the end. Spectrometry labs. Yeah. One of the forgeries, the Freeman's Oath, was set to sell for more millions of dollars.
For more than a million.
Millions of dollars. So that's your fuck up.
It is. Like, the Freedman's Oath was supposedly the first writing, I believe, ever, like the first poem or writing ever made in the United States. And it was the stupid oath about being a free man. And it was thought to have disappeared. And he ends up finding paper that he can alter to appear to be from this oath. And he forges this just right. And it is getting checked by the feds and going through the world's best lab tests because it's auctioned to sell for millions of dollars. And he needed that money to come through in time to fuel his other things. It's like every con relied on the other con. Just Peter to pay Paul, left hand, right hand bullshit. Among other things, the Salt Lake City investigators said they had found Mr. Hopman had used formula for ink first developed in the 16th century that used excretions of an oak tree as an ingredient. They also found that he had applied ammonium hydroxide to the documents to prevent the ink from running on paper. Such feathering and unusual ink-webbed cracking is a telltale sign of many forgeries, and this was a problem for him. The investigators also said the paper used in the forgeries had been taken from the fly leaves or other blank pages of old books from their time.
It's fucking obnoxious. Like, get the ink from, the natural resources, like not just using, he went the extra mile to make it right.
Dude, it was just like Rudy with the formulas. Yeah. He would sit there and mix ink with, by burning old paper so he could get ashes that would date back to those years that the old paper was from, and then mix it with pine oil. It's crazy.
Yeah. So Mr. Hamilton, so this is an investigator that examined dozens of Mr. Hoffman's forgeries as a consultant to the prosecutors in the bombing case, said many of his techniques, such as the formula for the ink, were taken directly from his book about great forgers. In hindsight, document experts said Mr. Hoffman succeeded not only because of his technical skills, but also because of the personality he projected as an unassuming scholar of history.
Just like Rudy.
There's a quote says he was able to get away with it because nobody thought he was capable of it. Says Mr. Rendell, probably of one of the investigators. He was shy. He was extremely tentative about the documents he brought you, saying he wasn't sure whether they were genuine or not. He just didn't seem like a guy who could pull off a hoax like this.
Right.
They had absolute confidence in him.
Yeah, and what really made me want to include him in this were all these additional techniques he used because they were brilliant. There was no one else doing this at the time. He was doing things like he would create solutions. It was kind of like in the first part of art forgery, the putting the nails in salt water for a canvas to age them artificially, quicker artificially. He would do things like have solutions that the documents would be in that electrical stimulation was running through. So electrical current was going through the documents that would age them.
It's fucking quicker. Genius. It's just
like
genius.
That's outstanding. He often took advantage of natural elements such as sun to try to dry his ink and help them fade faster, leaving things on clotheslines and shit. But the aspect I found most clever was the use of a vacuum cleaner. So this is so good. Many old inks have metal elements. So over time, they sink into the paper. And this happens gradually over years. The metal in the ink gets pulled through the paper. So to simulate this, Mark would use near identical inks that he was creating. And then while the ink was still in a pliable state, he would use a vacuum cleaner fitted with something like a pantyhose over the nozzle. And he would turn it on and suck the back of the paper to pull the ink from the reverse side of the page. And it worked really fucking well. Yeah. It's so simple.
Yeah, it's fucking so smart, though. Every detail.
Yeah. And just like with the canvases where you'll use the heat and steam by ironing because it smooths out the paper. Because a forge, something that would be 100 years old, it won't have any rough. It's going to be smooth paper. So the big mistake, unfortunately for Mark, is that a team of FBI investigators discovered that his forgeries, after years, the FBI assumed these documents were authentic. They passed them.
Yeah.
But this specific team of investigators discovered that due to unique web cracking in the ink, which was only visible at lab quality magnification hundreds of times, it was discovered that the result from the ironing of his papers, the steam, it would crack these old inks. And it would have these little webbed patterns that they couldn't figure out what they were from until that they would look at documents he did and authentic documents. Instead of just looking at his and being like, these all pass the test, they were looking at true authentic ones and going back and forth. And all of his had this cracking, and that's what, led them to figure it out.
Yeah.
All in all, Mark was extremely clever and a talented piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's a shame he didn't use his powers for good, and it's a shame that third bomb was a dud. He is 66 years old and sitting in prison for the rest of his life. I believe he's in the same prison as the Unabomber, that Supermax in Colorado.
Yeah.
I may be wrong on that, but when he was even in prison, he played the nice guy that, he was remorseful. He cooperated with the feds in finding authentic or faked documents. Like, he was doing everything right and trying to eventually work towards a parole or whatever. And then while he's in his on the yard in his cell, he starts planning with other prisoners to murder the parole board. And he got busted for that.
Wow.
So he's definitely
he's gone.
Absolutely done. So I think I'll let you kick this off. Just for fun, we wanted to talk about all the crazy bullshit Mormons like Mark Hoffman believe, because fuck the Mormons.
Yeah, you had mentioned, do we want to give a little detail? Can we, is that too off base? And it's it's first of all, it's our podcast. Number two, it's the trash cast. We got to talk some shit on somebody. So, yeah. The wild shit that Mormons believe. Number one, is it? I don't know actually how to pronounce.
Tithing.
Is it tithing?
I think so.
Never went to because I know that some Christian sects do this too. So it's giving money to the church, and it's the idea. Give God the first portion of your income because you don't need it as much as your priest does.
Right.
But there's a quote from the Mormon, I guess, Bible. It was, or lack of a better term. And after that, and this is the quote, and after that, those who have thus been tithes shall pay 1/10 of all their interest annually. And this shall be a standing law unto them forever for my holy priesthood, saith the Lord.
Dude.
If you want to get into heaven, you have to pay for it with cash, dollars.
Yeah, it's like the old days where you had you could get rid of your sins by paying them for them. There was a name for it.
The mafia.
It was the Lutherans, I think, that were big on it. You bought things to pay for your sins. But it's so, I really thought this was funny. You put it as the first on this list because for me, this is something I wouldn't even have thought to put on because so many churches do this.
Yeah.
Like growing up as a kid, this was something most of the families at school would do. You give 1/10 of your income. That's just normal.
That's so fucked up.
It's crazy. That's why when you put it down, it made me realize how fucked it is. You know what I mean?
The no pleasures of life. So coffee, no drugs, no tobacco, not even allowed to swim. And mostly this goes for their the people that are really involved with the church, but God forbid you enjoy the world that your God has supposedly given you.
Yeah, that a lot of this definitely leans toward the more fundamentalist Mormons, but this is still what is preached often. And I think they only don't want to swim because they might get their golden underpants wet.
Yep.
That's a thing.
Them heavy golden underpants, man, you can't swim in them things.
They really believe in special underwear. They all wear special underwear.
Yeah, you gotta give me some more information on that. I don't know anything about it other than it's special gold underwear. Yeah. It's supposedly magic or some shit.
It's honestly, I really don't know. It's definitely one of the fundamentalist things, but Joseph Smith, I believe, wore special underwear, and the underwear was actually long johns, but they, it's called underwear. But his were supposedly made of gold, even though he lied about all kinds of shit.
Yeah, I'm sure no one ever got to see him.
Yeah, but for the longest time, and it's still like a belief that like a lot of Mormons wear long johns under their clothes at all times because that's their special underwear.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, in your spirit after you die. So everyone on Earth now was a spirit in pre-existence. When we die, our spirits, and this is what they believe, when we die, our spirits are separated from our bodies, and if we were good, we go to spirit paradise. If we were bad, we go to spirit prison. The spirit world exists as a place for spirits to go to wait for the second coming. And it's kind of seems like reincarnation. Is it reincarnation? No. It's just some extra bullshit to make people act out of fear for life after death.
Yeah, that sounds like so hippy-dippy, too, for them. That's so dumb.
It's also so they can...
Spirit jail.
Right? So they can change the rules at whim, too. So almost anyone who knows anything about the Mormon religion knows that they have a prophet. What they don't know is anything that the prophet says in official capacity is considered canon to the religion. And this title of the prophet is passed down like the popedom. To be, when one dies or, one, needs to give up the ghost, for lack of a better word there, they, pun not intended, they pass it on to another person. And so there's only like 30 of them or something since this religion has become a thing, because it wasn't that fucking long ago.
I'm pretty sure it's like 250 years. It might even be a lot less than 30.
Right,
prophets.
But it's absolutely obnoxious. And they're old. They're all old white guys, of course.
Dude, and they got cash, bro. I'm pretty sure they're America's wealthiest church.
Yeah. They started here. That makes sense. They got their grassroots here. They had to start their own. So, one of the other cool ones. I thought this was real wild.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Go for it.
I just saw something today. The Catholic Church committed to their idea of reparations.
Oh, really?
People. They put out a statement. This was like this morning or last night. They put out a statement saying that they realized the Catholic Church was built on the backs of, I don't know if it was worded for just black people, but it was definitely something like that. So they agreed to pay $100 million of reparations to make up for all the wrongs they've done. And it was put out as a very genuine thing. Like, we know we're shitty. We want to help shit. And people were like, fuck yeah, like, pay that fucking money. Dude, $100 million for the... Nothing. Absolutely not a drop nothing in the bucket. And where the fuck's the money gonna go? None of it made fucking sense. And it feels like it was just a super clever press move with like all the rape shit, molest shit that's been happening. They just didn't do shit about that. They've waited a handful of years, and now they're like, we're gonna make up for all of our racist history, and we'll pay $100 million to look good. Get the fuck out of here.
That's what's the fucking homeboy. I think he's down in Florida with the big sprawling mansion and the private jets and shit that people pay, thousands and thousands of dollars just to be a member of the church. He's a fucking asshole.
Talking about Scientology?
No, I'm talking about Christianity. I'm talking about the fucking asshole. I think he's a Catholic too, but
one of those
fucking televangelist fucking piece of shit.
Yeah. I forget which one or which name.
The fucking devil incarnate piece of garbage.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jesus had his own Coming to America, and I had to phrase it like that because I just watched the new Coming to America movie. It's really good.
How was it?
It was really good. It was really good.
Yeah.
Anything with Tracy Morgan, it's going to be great. But they paid homage to the original one. They had a lot of fucking stars in it. Super good movie though.
Yeah.
So in the Book of Mormon, the Book of Mormon is the book of the LDS scripture, the Latter-day Saint scripture, that takes place during the same time as the Bible. And it takes place on the American continent. The book reveals that Jews left Israel and came to the Americas in 600 BC to establish communities. And it was this whole network of ancient society. It follows the story of two tribes who descended from the family of Lehi. I can't think of anything but Mr. Leahy. It's spelled Lehi, but all I can think of is Mr. fucking Randy. After Jesus' resurrection, Latter-day Saints people believe that he visited the people of America.
Of course he did.
I mean, you know, how you got to America in 600 BC from Israel.
I just...
Fucking what? And of course, there's not a single bit of any kind of evidence, archaeologically or otherwise, that supports any of these claims.
Of course not.
Although it does have they use that to play into another part of their religion, which is racism and sexism and homophobia. Imagine that. In the Latter-day Saints religion, any worthy male can be given the priesthood and is given specific duties. Black people were not allowed to have the priesthood until 1978 because, as they quote, God turned people's skin dark because they are evil.
Yep.
That actually might have been my quote. I put it in quotes.
They said the same thing about Indians as well.
Yeah, they turned their skin red. Yeah.
It might have not have been the words evil, but that's what they believe.
Yeah.
Believed for a long time. It may be changing now, but that's what the roots of Mormonism.
That God made their skin dark for a reason.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to distract you.
Yeah, good job. So there was the doctrine in 1978 that said, and this was where they, started to recognize that black people can be a church, black men could be a priest in their church. And it was, of course, 78, well after civil rights movements, aware of the promises made by the prophets and the presidents of the church who have preceded us, that at some time in God's eternal plan, all of our brethren who are worthy may receive the priesthood, and witnessing the faithfulness of those from the priesthood has been withheld, we have pleaded long and earnestly in behalf of these our faithful brethren, spending many hours in the upper room of the temple, supplicating the Lord for divine guidance. Thanks, assholes. I really appreciate it. Now you can poison other communities too. Real fucking cool.
Yeah.
I have to take a look at this link that you sent me. Oh, of course, I clicked it, and it's a link to the internet, so it's going to open in fucking Internet Escape because it was in Skype. So we'll hear about that in about 15 minutes.
It's funny. It's a meme of Michael Jordan as Jesus. it's really funny. It's one of the famous Jordan photos of him crying, photoshopped on Jesus. Nice. That makes me laugh.
The final thing I have here is just, it's the entire foundation of the cult is based on the unsubstantiated and outright sketchy as fuck claims of a convicted con artist. After being arrested multiple times for fraud and treason, as well as tricking people into paying him because he, quote, knew where they could find some buried treasure, Joseph Smith said he found Egyptian hieroglyph texts buried in New York. So, although an angel told him that no one was allowed to see them or handle them, so he had someone transcribe them as he translated them and dictated them from behind a curtain, so they could not see him or anything he was doing. By the way, he claims he translated them by peering into a hat that had rocks in it. He then had to return the tablets to the angel, so they were never seen or confirmed to exist by anyone. The main lesson that we can take from this is people will believe anything, and the real reason I'm broke is because I have a heart and a conscience.
Yeah, man. It's crazy what people will believe. They also believe in aliens and all kinds of UFO shit.
Yeah,
golden underwear.
The whole thing, like,
fuck these people.
There are multiple gods, and they all have their own universe, and there's all these different planets. And if you pay enough money, you can, and you don't swim, you can go to heaven, and you can become a god yourself.
Honestly, I wish I was more articulate or could organize my thoughts better. And I know I can if I'm really writing stuff, but I wish I could explain why to hate certain groups, such as religious groups, such as the Mormons, better than I do. But if any of these things sound insane or just funny to you, there's so many good accounts of all the crazy bullshit.
Yeah.
So what happens to these people that get busted with these forgeries and shit? Like, how bad is the legal ramifications?
In general, the rule of thumb with forgery seems to be charged as a third-degree felony. If convicted, a person could be punished up to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $25,000 for each charge. While some forgers go for quality over quantity, many try to get as many fakes through the system as possible. And, it would be easy to rack up a bunch of felonies pretty quick. In most of these big forgery cases, it seems as long as there's no violence is involved, no hard time is sentenced. Everyone made their money, so they don't seem to care that much.
Yeah, and that's kind of like Mark Hoffman was an exception to that because of his violence. But it seems like most of the time, you're pretty much good. They could charge for a bunch of forgeries, but like Wolfgang, like a lot of these people, Gloria, what's her name?
Glafira Rosales?
Glafira. Yeah, she got 9 months for over 30 forgeries. Wolfgang.
Slap on the wrist.
The most prominent forger in the fucking world got fucking 3 years, Like, it's not that bad because everybody's making money. So we wanted to switch, and we're going to do a quick dive. We're going to go into it harder another time and maybe do some episodes on it in the future, but we wanted to briefly mention some of the wildest art heists. So when we started this little series, we talked about forgery as being one of the big types of art crimes, but some of the other really fun ones are the art heists.
Yeah.
It's a different branch of art crime, but we'll see when we get to the Mona Lisa at the end. Did you notice I'm changing how I say Mona Lisa?
Mm-hmm, I did notice that.
I'm getting better. I'm learning. Sometimes art heists and forgeries are connected. So here's a few of our favorite art heists. I'll start us off with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So in 1473, Polish pirates boarded a ship that was en route to Florence. They had walked away with Hans Memlin, The Last Judgment, this painting by Hans, an intricately rendered triptych envisioning the second coming of Christ, and hauled it back to their homeland in what is now considered the first recorded art heist. The painting today now resides at the National Museum in Poland. The National Museum in Gdansk.
I wouldn't have even tried to pronounce that one.
I was going to skip it, but just in Poland, it makes sense.
I have no fucking idea. It's in Poland.
Yeah, and the Italians have been seeking to recover it ever since. So fucking Polish pirates pulled off the first big art heist.
That makes sense.
That
tracks. That's badass.
Outstanding.
The second one is the Dresden jewelry heist, one of the largest art thefts ever committed. Took place largely over the course of a single minute. At 4 a.m., thieves cut the power to the Green Vault Museum and made off with riches that had been valued at a collected $1.2 billion by smashing an axe into a glass display case. Among the work stolen were some of the most famous jewelry objects in the world. This includes a sword encrusted with nearly 800 diamonds and the 49.84 carat Dresden white diamond. By the end of 2020, 4 people were arrested for the heist, though German police were still on the hunt for the jewels, which were still not recovered by the start of 2021. In January, one security firm floated the theory that criminals were trying to sell the jewels on the dark web. This was later rejected as a prominent theory by the authorities.
Dude, that is $1.2 billion by smashing with an axe. And it definitely was a well-planned thing from what I was seeing. And if you're bored, get on YouTube. There's video.
Yeah, this was not that long ago. This is last fucking year.
You can see the dudes masked up, putting an axe through the display cases, stealing $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
that blows out anything I've ever done in Payday.
Yeah, absolutely. And look up some of the fucking pieces. They're, crazy obnoxious pieces of jewelry and shit.
Yeah.
Art jewelry.
Whew. So the third one, this is Boston's Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum House. It's they house a world-class architect collection. I wish I said that better, but I didn't. But in the last 2 decades, it's been better known for the art that isn't there. $500 million worth of masterpieces that disappeared from its walls 25 years ago. So 25 years ago, they got robbed, and to this day, the paintings, the frames still hang on the walls where the paintings themselves were cut out of the frame. So these empty frames are just sitting there, and people visit them. It included 3 Rembrandts, a Vermeer, a Manet, and sketches by Degas.
That's Degas.
Degas?
Degas, no S. You don't pronounce the S.
Degas.
It's that French lazy consonant shit.
Yeah. This has haunted the Boston law enforcement and the art world ever since. 2 men dressed in police uniforms rang the bell to the employees' entrance of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. They showed up on the monitor screen of one of the 2 night watchmen who were on duty that night. They said, "We're here to investigate a disturbance," so we buzzed them in. The guards were handcuffed and promised a reward in a year if they didn't trigger silent alarms. I think that's pretty classy.
Yeah.
I dig it. And then using a blade, the thieves cut out the canvases from their frames, which I love that visual.
Yeah.
They're cuffing up these guards and just fucking cutting them out. There's all these other examples of art heists where they take the frame and then at some point between the museum or where their vehicle is, the frame's like dismantled and thrown on the sidewalk or like found in the toilet or whatever.
Nice.
But I love that they're just like, fuck this. We're taking $500 million in art, just cutting it out of the fucking frame.
Yeah, fuck them.
25 years after the heist, the empty frames still hang in the museum. No arrests have been made, and none of the art has been recovered. The FBI's leading theory has been that the Boston Mafia were involved, but they haven't been able to prove it. There is still a $10 million reward for any information on their whereabouts. The museum says the collection and its layout are permanent, so empty frames remain hanging as a homage to the missing works and as placeholders for their return. I think that's romantic. I like that.
that's a cool way to handle that.
I think that particular robbery involved, I think it was that On the Sea of Galilee painting by fucking Rembrandt. It's like a classic. Like a lot of people would notice it or recognize the painting.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's some of the biggest names in the history of art, just all gone.
Yeah.
It's outstanding.
We're going to wrap up heist with a recent one here. In March 2020, as COVID-19 lockdowns began across the world, most major museums in Europe and North America closed the doors to visitors. Amid the eerie quietude, there was a heist at the Singer-Lauer Museum in the Netherlands, where thieves walked off with a priceless early Vincent van Gogh painting. That work, the Parsonage Garden at Nuenen in Spring, from 1884, had been on loan from another Dutch institution, the Groninger Museum, and it was removed by a robber who broke into the museum using a sledgehammer and got past various layers of security.
Fuck yeah.
The unexpected theft took place against a backdrop of a pandemic seemed to be a sign that thieves were using the unsettling moment to their advantage. As of 2021, the Van Gogh painting has not yet been found.
Yeah, and this gets crazier. Dude, the sledgehammer visual reminded me of that Killdozer.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, dude, the dude in the Killdozer. Oh, I fucking love that shit. If you're bored, look up Killdozer and you'll have a blast. So oftentimes, in this case, a lot of times criminals get very nervous because it's hard as fuck to sell these paintings.
Yeah, you can't sell
They're
this
so
shit.
fucking hot. So A lot of times they go to a private collector that they organized ahead of time, or the thief tries to be extremely patient till they can find an inconspicuous buyer and try to get rid of it quietly. But oftentimes they will destroy this work if they think the police are on their tail. So with this Van Gogh, an incredible photograph of the missing Van Gogh painting that was stolen from the Dutch Museum in March has been discovered circulating the criminal underworld. Mm-hmm. It is said to be going around mafia circles. Then it hit Twitter. Unlike in a real hostage situation, it is unlikely that the thief is holding up the painting for ransom. It is more likely he is more likely circulating the image because he or she is trying to find a buyer. So this dude put the photos of the stolen painting with the day's newspaper, and they also you can see this book, and it's about this master thief, and it's so goofy. So the thought is that this image was intentionally spread to go viral so they could find a buyer. The theft has hallmarks of an absolutely professional operation, particularly since the thief knew to include an image of the back of the painting, which often contains information that only the owners would know and rules out the possibility that the work could be a forgery. Yeah. And this is very important, we see with the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Another strange clue in the picture is a copy of a book called The Master Thief, the 2018 Dutch language biography of Octave Durham, an art thief who went to prison for stealing 2 Van Goghs from the Van Gogh Museum in 2002.
Hit 2 of them.
Yeah, so the picture of the Van Gogh has the stolen painting, the back to prove it's the original, the day's newspaper, and a copy of a book about stealing Van Goghs as a tip to himself as a master thief. Outstanding.
That's fucking great.
And the Mona Lisa's got its own crazy fucking story about this too.
The Mona Lisa.
The Mona Lisa.
Of course, Da Vinci's Mona Lisa may be the most well-known artwork in the world, and an art heist is actually one of the reasons its fame was cemented. Few really cared much about the painting until 1911, when Vincino Peruggia, an Italian handyman, and 2 of his compatriots spent the night in a closet at the Louvre and then scurried away with the work, taking it with them on a train that departed Paris on a Sunday morning. The matter became one of international intrigue. Soon enough, it became too difficult to sell the work because no one would buy an artwork that was receiving so much attention. So Peruggia proceeded to stash it away under the floorboards in his Paris apartment, only to try again 28 months later. Homeboy stashed it away for 2 fucking years under the floorboards to peddle the work. So this time to a dealer in Florence. Peruggia believed that he was aiding in cultural reparations. He thought that Napoleon had plundered a prime... Jesus, the plosives on this sentence. The alliteration. Peruggia believed that he was aiding in cultural reparations. He thought that Napoleon had plundered a prime piece of Italian heritage and was determined to give it back to his homeland. So Leonardo had actually been working on the painting in France, and upon his death in 1519, King Francis I bought it. The Florentine dealer then phoned the gallery director who took the work, claiming he was going to keep it safe, and he called the police. So Peruggia only ended up getting 7 months in jail.
That's incredible. He turned himself in, basically.
Yeah.
And there's this whole mythos that he waited 28 months, and there's this whole story that he did that in part like he was going to sell it, and every time he pulled it out from under his bed, the painting grew on him a little bit more until he fell in love with her charming smile.
Yeah.
And that's part of the mythos. So supposedly there are other thieves and a mastermind involved in the plot, but none of them have been proven to exist.
Yeah.
So you can find information about these other thieves involved, and none of them we think they're all imaginary that he created, including this mastermind, because the original plan was to steal the Mona Lisa and produce copies of the paintings, which would then be sold to private buyers as the genuine painting. They had a plan to sell each copy as the original, while the location of the real painting was unknown. And this is not like an unusual plan with stolen work. Oftentimes, the art crime of stealing the work is paired with the crime of forging the work. Once you have it, you can have a master artist reproduce a bunch of fakes over the time period while you're waiting for the heat to cool down, and then you try to sell them all to different buyers. Instead of selling one painting, you're selling 14. It's so clever. I love it. This painting is one of the most famous in art history and has also been the victim of art vandalism a great deal during its time. Painted in 1503, this piece by Leonardo has been attacked 4 times, including twice in the same year. In 1956, the lower half of the painting was attacked with acid, while later that year, it was chipped by a rock thrown at it. In 1974, after being placed behind bulletproof glass, a woman spray painted over the top. The final attack thus far was when a visitor threw a mug that had been purchased in the gift shop.
But why, though?
You have to be off your rocker to try that, because you're not going to actually fuck it up, and you're definitely, can't get away with it.
Yeah, you're not going to walk out of the Louvre on your own.
I understand trying to steal it more than I understand just trying to assault it.
Yeah, what the fuck? I mean, it's... it's not that great of a painting, number one. It's not as crazy as it should be for how popular it is. I like Leonardo da Vinci otherwise, but it's not it's not really worth it. But what about it makes you so upset?
Right. You know what's another well-known to be stolen and forged is the Scream painting.
Oh, I can see that.
Because after, when you think of that painting, there's, one version of it people tend to think of, but there's actually, 13 different versions, and half of them are sketch drawings. So there's been a ton of fake versions of that, and I believe it's been stolen a couple times. That's a popular one for it.
That makes sense. Pop quiz, who does that painting?
Munch.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yay, I got one. So we're going to finish off our art forgery 2-parter by talking about the FBI and some of the art crime info from their website. So I had to get on a Fed site for this, so it better be fucking good. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, you went above and beyond for this. So this is advice from Special Agent Brusokas. That's even a hard one for me. Brusokas, has a few words of advice when it comes to buying high dollar art. Number 1, get a complete provenance or a chain of custody on each piece to find where the art originally came from. Was it obtained directly from an estate, for example? This information provides a way to double check the piece's history instead of just relying on a certificate of authenticity. Second, research the dealer carefully. Check the Better Business Bureau for possible complaints. Find out if they only sell online or if they have a gallery. For pieces of art you already own, you can go back to the gallery and ask for provenance on your print. You can also contact artist foundations, which will do side-by-side comparisons with originals for free, or for a fee. I almost said for free. No one does anything for free. And remember, when trying to get that one treasure from someone's garage, that's when you're more likely to let your guard down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When all that glitters is gold, when you're
only shooting stars,
right? when you're looking for the thing that's going to make you happy,
right? So this is straight from the FBI's website. So the FBI's art crime team launched in 2004. Which, if you ask me, is kind of fucking late to the game.
Yeah, real fucking, they didn't really give a shit.
Yeah, but it felt like, I don't know, it's the Feds, so it feels like so braggadocious. They're like, we launched in 2004, and we include 13 special agents and 3 Department of Justice attorneys. To date, the team has recovered 850 cultural objects valued at more than $134 million. Now, if that seems like a lot, I can promise you it's not. Think about that. 13 special agents for the entire country's art crime team.
Yeah.
So they've 13. That's 850 divided by 13. What is that? That's like they're under 100, but then I was dividing it by 10 years also.
Yeah.
That's like each special agent is maybe getting like 10 pieces of art crime a year.
Yeah. It's
so that's like
yeah.
Once a month, each special agent's catching like one piece.
Not even.
Dude, that's ridiculous. So art and cultural property crime, which includes theft, fraud, looting, and trafficking across state and international lines, is a looming criminal enterprise which is estimated losses in the billions of dollars annually. And on the Fed's website, they're talking about, we caught 134 million in 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
To recover these precious pieces and to bring these criminals to justice, the FBI has dedicated an art crime team of 20 agents. 20 special agents, they're special, supported by the DOJ trial attorneys for prosecution. The Bureau also runs the National Stolen Art File, a computerized index of reported stolen work and cultural proprieties.
Properties.
Is it properties? For the use of law enforcement agencies across the world. So, by their own fucking admission, these 20 special agents aren't making a fucking dent in the world of art theft and forgery. And so that's their current website.
Yeah.
If they have modernized and done more, like maybe they have a lot more than 20 special agents, then they still don't update their fucking websites.
Get your shit together, FBI.
Whew.
I'm on a watch list now.
I know. I was on that. I left like my computer on it for like a day.
You have so many fucking tabs open.
I know. And I had like art heist and art bomb. I had the Mormon bombings, the art heists, and I'm like on the FBI's page. I just don't give a shit. Last time the cops had my computer, they didn't do shit. So fuck them.
We got a good cover. We do a podcast. Sir, officer, would you like to listen to our podcast?
It's for research.
Yeah. That actually is a fun idea, thinking that there would be FBI agents that are listening to our podcast, and we're just watching the numbers go up in our analytics. Like, oh, check it out. We got some new listeners this week.
It's like 10% of our views.
Art theft statistics say that more than 50,000 pieces of artwork are stolen each year around the world. The black market for stolen art is valued between $6 billion and $8 billion annually.
Yeah. That's insane. That was from a different source, but I think that is probably a lot closer to accurate than whatever the feds were thinking.
Well, this is around the world versus in our country.
True. But that number makes a lot more sense. I honestly, I bet it's a lot more than 8 fucking billion.
Yeah.
It's just like drug trade and shit. It's always so much fucking worse than they think.
I wonder, I assume that's including like digital art and
that's interesting.
Copyright kind of stuff.
That is such a big problem. That's part of what the NFTs, the digital crypto art, is revolutionizing, and also the biggest problem because now there's there's people fraudulently creating crypto art of another artist because once it's made, it can't be unmade. It's non-refundable tokens. Yeah. It's very interesting.
It's pretty wild shit.
Yeah. How do you say the name of this museum in France?
I cannot fucking tell you.
I couldn't say it last time. I'm not going to be.
Yeah. So we quoted this last time, but we think it's important to remind people this one. I would call it the Musée Terrace in Elne, France. It's ELNE. I don't know how fucking you pronounce that in French. It saw its collection cut in half by saw its collection cut by more than half when it was revealed that 82 of the museum's 142 works were forgeries. That's
a fucking insane. That's like the mic drop. Like, this is a major fucking museum. Like, they finally get all their shit tested, lab tested. Over half of a museum shit is forgeries.
Yeah, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous.
It's everywhere. Dude, I think of it just like steroids. Everyone's fucking doing it, and the problem is a lot worse than everyone thinks.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
That's the world of art crime. That's what art forgery is. It's fucking everywhere. You've seen it. So I don't know about you. I really enjoyed digging into all this shit, man.
Yeah, man, it was fun. I know it's something that you're extremely passionate about. I dig it a lot.
I just love stealing.
I learned a lot with you this one. And I know we have some dishonorable mentions this time.
Yeah, fuck the Koch brothers.
Absolutely.
Fuck Mark Hoffman.
Yep.
Fuck Joseph Smith. Fuck the Mormons. Fuck the Mona Lisa. Fuck Rothkos. Fuck Sotheby's. And fuck the feds.
Fuck the feds. Hey, fuck Rothko. I just want to say that one.
Pollock.
And Pollock. Fuck Pollock. I've tried a lot to like Rothko stuff. My ex-girlfriend was big into the Rothko work, and I really tried to give it an honest go, and I don't like it. I don't think it's good.
That's unfortunate.
I definitely don't think it's worth the money that people pay for it.
Yeah, there's a couple pieces, but I won't defend it. It's bullshit. Also, fuck, who's our other dude? Campbell Soup Boy.
Oh, Andy Warhol. Yeah, fuck Andy Warhol every day.
Fuck, and Picasso.
And Picasso, he sucks butt too.
And this is funny. When you said your ex, I told myself I would never date another woman who doesn't love Seinfeld.
Are you doing that now?
I am. She doesn't like it.
Yeah.
We're always fighting. I'm defending Jerry Seinfeld all the time. That doesn't feel great.
That's not healthy for a relationship.
Yeah, right?
Red flag number one.
Dude, my old punk jacket, I don't know if you remember this. I had a spiked out jacket, all bleached and patched up with my art and shit. And on the inside, it had a fur lining. Yeah. And I had that painting of Kramer.
It's so fucked up.
I had this I bought a like triple XL shirt of the painting of Kramer so I could cut it out and stitch it in the lining of the jacket. It was outstanding.
It was a good fucking jacket.
So who you want to shout out?
Shouts out to our
good shouts.
Yeah, good shouts out. Not fuck these people. We like these people. Yeah. Shouts out to our boy Wolfgang. Fucking Woo. Wolfgang Beltracci. Fucking one of the greatest art forgers of all time. Along with Pei Shen Chen.
Yeah, buddy.
Fucking amazing work. And shouts out to Vincino Perugia for stealing the Mona Lisa. Hiding out in that closet overnight at the Louvre.
No one would know about that painting if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, no one gave a shit about it.
Yeah, and free our boy Rudy.
Free the boy. Let him go.
I want some of that toilet wine.
Yeah, I
bet he was making some good shit in prison.
We got to make some white teas with Rudy. Free the boy.
Get one of his wine labels on it.
Right. So thanks again for listening. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human.
Thanks, John.
Make sure you follow the show page at Trashcast on Instagram for news and art from the show.
If you're really bored, you can check out my forged art on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYZICX. Also, definitely check out the old, awesome, beautiful work of Fran Schneider's. What was his name? The Sepultura artist Michael Whalen. And everybody knows Banksy. Don't waste your time with that. And next week, we're going to be doing our episode on, what was it, black holes,
Black holes.
Dude, I'm excited for that. I was researching a little bit, and I do not know shit. So it's going to be... You're going to have to help me, man.
Yeah. I got a couple ideas on the way we can structure that. We'll talk about that later.
Hell yeah. Do you got anything else?
Nope, that's going to be it.
Let's get the fuck out of here. That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy, my gutter gang.
Boy, let's go.
Trash Cats.